And I'm pleased now to welcome to the show to speak about Massey Commons, the Mayor of the City of Cornwall, Justin Towndale, Lisa Smith from Cornwall Housing Services, and Mellissa Morgan from Human Services. So welcome all of you to the show, talking about this very important topic. And we'll start with you, Mr. Mayor, and a little bit of background and overview of the Massey Commons project.
Absolutely. So Massey Commons represents community housing, right? It's transitional housing. It's not a shelter, and that's something that we really want to stress. We've been discussing this since Council approved it in June of 2023, and the intention is to add diversity to our housing portfolio and to make sure that we can provide resources for those who need it. Transitional housing is an important part of all that. You know, we could be seeing residents who are staying there for up to 4 years, and as I mentioned, it's apartments. You know, we have 3 2-bedroom units. We have 13 studio-style units and 8 micro-units. You're going to have a mix of people living there. You're going to have families with children. You're going to have seniors. You're going to have a whole community within the building. And it's no different than any other school conversion that you've seen in our community. Most of them in our community have become long-term care, for example, or nursing homes, but this is very similar in that vein.
Wonderful. And Mellissa, what can you tell us about risk management? Certainly we know that there are schools and long-term care homes and residential neighborhoods. So what is the risk management plan?
Sure. So much like all of our community housing projects, not only the safety of our community and the surrounding neighborhood, but those individuals that will be living in our community housing developments it's paramount to us when we consider those developments. Certainly we look at a number of things, and with this particular project, as a start to all of our community housing projects, we will be doing a risk assessment or a CEPTED audit with community professionals that will help us identify a number of factors that we could be looking at that will help with the overall safety of the facility, the residents, and the neighborhood. And while we'll be starting with Massey Commons, it will be something we're undertaking with all of our community housing projects.
Wonderful. And Lisa, has recent air quality testing been done at the abandoned building to address health concerns?
So, like any property that we build through housing services with the city, we do all the mandatory testing and preparatory work required for any facility. And that's one of the key benefits of us taking over this building. It won't just be a vacant property sitting in the middle of a thriving neighborhood. We'll have come in, we'll have done the work to renovate, retrofit, essentially rehabilitate it for community use and add that as part of a contribution to that neighborhood.
Wonderful. And Mellissa, will crime increase in part because of this?
You know, we know that that's a concern that residents and the community have. There have been a number of studies that have been conducted in Canada, you know, specifically from a well-known institute, the Wellesley Institute. They do a lot of research on human urbanism and really taking into effect social determinants of health. And a study that they have conducted shows that there is no correlation between community housing and crime rates or increased crime rates because of addition of community housing. And certainly at our public information session, Chief Spowart also showed some interesting data compared to from last year compared to this year with our winter housing solution, that there was no increase in crime rate over that year, the same period from one year to the next. So there is no correlation between crime rates and community housing.
All right, and Lisa, how can the safety of the students in the surrounding area be ensured?
Exactly. So, like the community, we take safety of the neighborhoods that we add community housing to, or safety of the residents who live in that community housing, very seriously. To add on to Melissa's point, research will tell you there's no direct correlation between adding community housing and crime rates. We will be actively working with those community safety and risk management professionals to do proper audits and safety checks and planning for that facility, again, to help ensure that the neighborhood, the schools, the surrounding agencies are all safe, as well as the people who live there.
Wonderful. And why was this site chosen? Obviously, we know that a lot of thought was put into it. It wasn't just, oh, here's a building, let's move in. But talk to me about the process of selecting this particular site.
Absolutely. So when we look at any site, regardless whether it's a vacant lot or there's an existing building on the property, there are a number of things that we look at. Certainly size and the ability of us to be able to expand into the future, and this site definitely had some possible expansion opportunities in the future. We also look at a number of things like proximity to transit. There's a bus stop immediately in front of this building. Proximity to other amenities. It could be grocery stores, it could be medical clinics, laundry facilities, things of that nature. The benefit of this building was, or this property was, that there was an existing building. As you know, Council has declared a housing crisis in our community, and certainly because there's an existing building there, the opportunity to retrofit this building offered a much quicker option for us to get some much needed apartments for our community, and so quicker occupancy rates than a traditional ground to occupancy would have undertaken. So it was a quick win for us. Certainly it's cost effective as well. And like I said, the expansion possibilities to the north of the existing building are also there for us for future development.
And Mr. Mayor, maybe we can allude to the financial implications, because obviously whenever tax dollars are involved, council and administration certainly take that to highest consideration in terms of making sure that no money is wasted.
Absolutely. We have a responsibility to make sure tax dollars are spent responsibly and that the needs for our citizens are provided for. And this project really does hit both of those marks. There are studies that show that whenever there are not supports for those individuals who are precariously housed or identified as homeless, costs go up. When we look at studies that have been performed looking at municipalities where people might end up jailed, which is an unfortunate outcome, or they're in the hospital system, you're talking about a really high cost. And as emergency shelters are factored in, and again, this is not an emergency shelter, the cost goes down. The lowest common denominator with the lowest cost with the highest return is transitional housing, which is Massey Commons. You're providing a safe and secure place for individuals who need it so they can get back on their feet and focus on what's next. A lot of these individuals are working. They're just having trouble in the current economy and marketplace when it comes to rent or first and last month's rent. Providing safe, secure housing and stable housing with a roof over their heads helps to alleviate those concerns, reduces stress, and allows them to thrive.
Wonderful. And Lisa, what measures are being implemented to ensure cleanliness in the neighborhoods, unwanted garbage, and of course traffic is always a big concern as well?
Great question. So we've already conducted a traffic assessment of that area and considered what would be the impact when we add this facility and the folks who live there into the community. There is no discernible impact to traffic whatsoever. So we've also planned for parking for the residents as well, so that will be on site. So we're very confident that traffic impact will be minimal if there's any at all. In terms of the maintenance of that building, Housing Services takes a lot of pride in how it maintains its housing. We will take that same level of pride in maintaining this building. It will be kept clean, friendly. The landscaping will be all well maintained. It will be part of our portfolio, and again, approached with the same level of care that our staff show to every other property we have.
Wonderful. And finally, Mr. Mayor, how will property values be affected by this new development?
They won't be affected negatively, I can tell you that. And there are studies, the Wesley Institute was mentioned a little earlier, and they've conducted studies that show that there is no negative impact to land value when transitional housing, similar facilities are constructed. Listen, I have personal experience. When I lived in Toronto, I owned my condo. I was under 200 meters from the Salvation Army Gateway, which was a 200-bed emergency shelter. Again, this is not a shelter, but that's an example. And I was under 100 meters from another Salvation Army facility, the Harbor Light Ministries, which was transitional housing, very similar in scope, but much larger than this facility. My land value only went up. And that's the case across the country. There's no proof that land values will go down as a result of this. But again, this is the kind of thing where we're creating a safe space for individuals who need it, and this contributes to the fabric of our community and the overall safety and well-being of our community. These sorts of programs and facilities help the community flourish, and as a whole, land values across the city can go up as a result.
Absolutely. On that note, I want to thank all three of you again for joining us to speak about this really important topic. And of course, if viewers do want more information, they can visit the city's website. There's a lot of info there on Massey Commons. So thank you once again, and best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thanks.